Papicock Podcast with Victor Pacheco. Hello and welcome to Papicock Podcast with your host, Victor Pacheco. We got another great episode today with a very legendary guest, actor, comedian, marijuana advocate, Mr. Tommy Chong.
Hey, that's me.
Hey, how you doing today, Tom?
I'm doing really good, considering all my friends are dying. So,
oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that.
No, it's their time was up. What can I say? When you leave, not a shock. But we were never destined to be here forever, obviously.
Yeah, it just hurts too. Like I'm 37. I've already lost a lot of friends too. I can only imagine the amount of friends that you've lost throughout the years. So it's just my heart goes out to you, and I'm sorry that you're going through that. My neighbor Frank, he used to tell when I was a little boy, he would say, "Hey, you know why old people always so upset?" And I was like, "No." And he's just thought like, well, that's because we've seen all of our friends and relatives die. All our loved ones are gone. That's why we're always pissed off.
Well, maybe if you look at it that way, yeah. Well, that's usually the case as far as it's the people left behind that are hurting. The people that are gone, they're not hurting.
Oh yeah.
I learned that. But one thing I did learn, they asked me, what's it like getting old? And it's what you make it. You can fight it, or you can embrace it. And the best thing to do is embrace it. Now, don't stop walking and don't stop working out or don't stop doing your routine, whatever it is, But as far as your attitude goes, we've been taught since the beginning of mankind, that, the best way to exist in this world is by helping others. And if you do that, then you're in good shape,
Yeah. I mean, I've taken a lot of influence because I listened to our interview like at least 8 times, and it's a 2-hour long interview. And by the way, I want to publicly say I'm really sorry for it being 2 hours long. Like I lost track of time. That was unprofessional on my part for not stopping it at 55 or so. I apologize. But I also want to say that I've had people who haven't hit me up in like 12, 13 years hit me up to tell me what an incredible podcast episode that was and how great of a job Tommy did. Nothing about me, but just how great you did. And so I was just like so.
But it was your show, and it was you could hit the off button anytime you wanted, but you just kept it on. No, congratulations. No. Again, talking about being old, one of the problems that we have is that when we do get talking, it's hard to shut us up,
Or Mexicans, you can't shut us up either. Then
oh, for sure.
And an old Mexican.
I saw a movie premiere of what's it called? Easter, Happy Easter. Anyway, it's about Easter. Jo Koy, the Filipino comedian. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Jo Koy. Yeah, he sells out arenas.
Well, we went to his movie last night, and I got to tell you, it was pretty spectacular.
That's awesome.
It's a real movie, and if you want to learn about the Filipino culture, that's your movie to go to.
What's funny about that is that movie takes place in Daly City, if I'm not mistaken. And
that's where I kept thinking, is that Vancouver?
Oh, it's always foggy there. And I grew up there. So like in the Bay Area. So like sometimes people say really messed up things. Like people say, hey, do you know why it's always foggy in Daly City? It's like, why? It's like, oh, because everybody has the rice cookers on. And I didn't make that up. I didn't make that up. That was just something that like was said for Daly City. or Daly City, and it's like, you know, people. No, and I'm not talking shit about the movie. I'm just talking shit about the town. I have friends from Daly City. It's actually really beautiful. Actually, don't like the sun, so for me, it's perfect. That's always foggy. So I hope everybody.
I lived there. I lived in Daly City for a couple of months, actually, back in the '60s. Yeah. Yeah, I know all about the fog. I know all about the fog, and I also know all about the citizen taxi. Like if you stood on a certain corner, this car would stop and pick you up, and you would have a lot of other people in the car with you. A lot of them are mostly immigrants, and that was their taxi. It was like unlicensed, and it was just like community people, you know. I was in Jamaica one time, and we rented a house, and I would drive from the house to the beach every day. And then one day there were some hitchhikers, so I picked them up, Jamaican hitchhikers. And then they said, "Oh man, you know, thank you, man, for the ride. What time will you be going home?" And I said, "Oh, you know, around supper time." "Okay, man, we'll be here." And so next thing you know, I was a taxi for these Jamaicans. I'd pick them up, drive them to the beach, and then at the end of the day, they would be waiting for me to drive them home.
Oh my God. That was in the '60s. Driving around these, were they Rastafarians or were they just Jamaican, and were they like weed friendly, or how was
they were told, everybody in Jamaica at that time was very weed friendly, but no, they're just Jamaicans. You know, this is what you do with the community. You know, oh, someone's got a car. Okay, listen, man, I need to borrow your car. You know, can you help me? You know, that's the way. I grew up in neighborhoods like that. You know, and yeah, if you had a truck, oh my God, you had to hide that sucker, because now you're really busy.
oh
man, yeah.
the trucks, like everybody asks you, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend? Can you help me move a couch?" It's like, no, I got back problems and I got other shit going on that day. And even if I didn't have back problems, no, you're asking me a lot. I'll give you pizza and beer. It's like, you know, God forbid you give me some weed, you know, or some edibles or something that's just, you know, gonna be worth the ride, you know, because I'll help you move if I'm high as fuck. You know, like,
well, in the poor neighborhoods, they usually give you a meal. You know, come on over for supper, or you know, or well, I'll cook for you. That's how they do it. In fact, I'm doing what do you call it? A cameo, like a little thing for a guy's music video, and the payment is a meal. That's what the payment from a French chef.
Oh, wow. That's very bougie. Okay.
Yeah,
that was, okay. I didn't know if it was like somebody who was like hard up and you're just like, you know, helping them. All due respect, you know, I don't know the situation, but I just thought, you know, it's just like, no, I'll just take a meal. But it's like, oh, it sounds like a very nice meal for nice trade. And so, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you a question that is relevant to what's going on now. That happened in the past. So during the alcohol prohibition, the U.S. government purposely poisoned beer and killed approximately 15,000 Americans. So I was wondering.
Really?
Yeah.
How did they poison the beer?
They would deliberately poison barrels and then put them with the mix. And so whoever, like, people would get tainted beer at pubs. And so they would blame him on moonshiners and people that were making them. But no, they were like from I mean, they were all speakeasies at the time, or like, you know, beer makers from whatever companies. They knew how to make beer. They still know how to ferment. Some people make their own brew at home still. So during this time, the government knowingly poisoned Americans, you know, because they were so against the prohibition of alcohol. So I'm wondering, because of all the recent fatalities associated with fentanyl-laced drugs, do you think that there's a correlation between the laced fentanyl drugs and government control?
Knowing the government, I would say these are the guys that delete their phones during emergency insurrections.
Jesus.
So So I don't really I can't give anybody in the government credit for the only, I mean, we elected Trump. Need I say anything more about American brain power? You know, we elected a guy that told everybody that he would meet women and grab them by the pussy because he was famous. He admitted that, and he still got elected. So I got no faith in the brain power of either the government or the people. You know what's keeping America afloat, you know, is the stupidity, the level of stupidity that is on the other side. You know, when I say the other side, I'm talking about the white nationalists, the racist, you know, the Trumpies, you know. Now I was born like a Trumpy, you know. I'm a perfect guy, except that in my travels I've learned a little bit, and I even have a tattoo that's a white nationalist tattoo that I had no idea what it was. And the reason I got it was that the guy, I was kind of using my house as a halfway house for prisoners, you know, that had nowhere to go after they got out of jail. And he was actually one of the first. I met him at a party. Real nice guy. He showed me how to tear a phone book in half. You know, there was a
oh my God.
And he showed me how to do it. He was strong, really good looking guy. He looked like a movie actor. And he had tattoos, homemade tattoos all over his body, on his knuckles, everywhere. He was covered with tattoos. And so when he lived at my house, he said, "Come on, let me give you a tattoo." And hey, young 15-year-old kid, hey, why not? You know, so I got me a little tattoo on my shoulder, this one here. And if you look at it closely, you can see it's a Nazi eagle.
That looks like an eagle to me. And like, you know, I might be a little biased, but like, I'm just like, it's a cute little eagle. But then it's just like,
it was surrounded by stars. But I had a biker many years ago look at my tattoo. We were on the radio station, and he goes, "That's a white nationalist tattoo." And I looked, it sure is. So I was going to get it altered and changed, you know. And my son, you know, he's like an artist, and he said, "No, Dad, that's OG, you know, don't mess it up." You know?
Just as an artist, you're not going to ruin the work, Dad. Dad, that's somebody's hard work, okay? He went out of his way to give you that tattoo in the joint. And by the way, you got that tattoo in the joint. Were you ever scared of like hepatitis, or was it just like, fuck it, I'm in prison?
No, he had done time in prison.
Oh.
And then he would come and stay at my house as like a halfway house.
Oh.
And I was still in school, and I met him at a party one time. He just had nowhere to stay. And, you know, growing up in the country, if you got to spare anything, you lend it or give it away. So he ended up renting a bed, basically, in our house. And he lived there for about a year, I guess. And then he got married, and he went very straight, you know. And he just died a few years ago. And I wrote about him in a book. And so his relatives, you know, they were all excited, you know, that their grandpa was in a book, you know, that Tommy Chong wrote. And so they contacted me. And luckily, I had a chance to talk to him just before he died, but he was so out of it, he could barely remember anything. And you know, you change over the years, but he told me some of the most incredible stories about being in jail in the 50s in Canada, in Lethbridge, Alberta. They had a silent system. when you walked into the jail, there was a sign over the jail that said, "You do not speak unless you have permission." You could not speak. You couldn't make a sound unless you had permission from the guards. And so that was the beginning of it. And that was the same prison. Now, this is back in the 50s, early 50s, where when they needed to execute somebody, they would build the gallows in the yard and hang him in the prison yard. And it was, and if you were convicted of rape, you got sentenced to lashes, the cat of nine tails, and you got whatever, 4 or 5 lashes, or even 15, 20, it depends on the severity of the crime. And if you broke the silent rule, they had like a gymnast horse. They would strap you over the gymnast horse, pull your pants down, and then whack you with a 5-foot, like a cricket bat.
Oh my God.
On the ass, and it was made out of an alloy of leather and I don't know, whatever, but it was like a big, huge belt, a machine that you would use to run machinery. And prisoners were so afraid of that being whacked like that, because once you get one whack, would put you on your belly sleeping for 6 months before you could heal enough to lay on your back. That's the kind of prison that my buddy grew up in. And he taught me how to sing quietly, because he had a beautiful voice. He had a beautiful voice, but because of the silent system, he would sing very quietly. And so we would, in our bedroom, I would play the guitar and he would sing beautiful Hank Williams songs, and that was my first taste of meeting someone that had done time. And then after that, I met then the word got out that I was friendly to prisoners and my family too. My mother was like an angel. And so we took in a couple more, and all the prisoners, they were the ideal tenants. It wasn't until I got into rock and roll and I had a singer, descendant from the slaves, Black Canadian, but a football player, but he wasn't as well trained as the prisoners, because he never had that prison training. And so he wasn't the best tenant, like he never paid rent like the other ones did on time, and you'd have to tell him what needed to be done. The prisoners, boy, they would clean the house and they would help my mother and visit with her. Well, actually, they used her as a mother, and I learned a lot, and I think that's one of the reasons that I ended up in prison. It was like this was like foreshadowing of what was to come with my life later on. Like I was 15 when the guy gave me the tattoo, but when it came time to make a choice, because I didn't have to go to jail for the bongs, I could have fought it because I was innocent. But the government said that they would go after my wife and my son if I didn't plead guilty. So when you talk about the government doing that, I can see. I'm not so sure about the poisoning. They had no respect for poor people, and it's the same way. That's what's going on now. I do caution though, watching the rumor mill, like the Trump putting out the fact that the election was stolen from him. Now I hope you're not an election denier.
No, nor a What's it called? Birth certificate denier either. Okay. Obama,
Yeah,
I
because
believe, was born in Hawaii. I'll go on record. I don't believe
no, but you see the tactics. That's what they've always done with people of color and people of minorities. You know, they just put out rules that just affected the minorities. You know, that's what all the drug rules were all about. You know, and for a couple of reasons. Same thing as the booze. The government was pissed off because they weren't making any money. You know, the gangsters were making all the money, and the people that made their own home brew, you know, they were just trying to live their life. You know, I mean, alcohol. You know, the reason for alcohol in America, especially, it came from the old world, and the reason was that, you know, there were so many plagues and so many diseases going around in the old world, and water got a lot to blame for it. And so when the settlers came to America, they would plant apples and grow apples so you could have apple cider. And so Johnny Appleseed, you know, remember him?
Yeah.
He was the guy that made sure, you know, everybody was thinking, oh, it's an apple a day. You just eat an apple raw. No, no, it was to make alcohol drinks, apple cider. That's why they had the Johnny Appleseed. I learned all this, you know, just through my phone and Twitter and you know, just research and just being old enough to pick up some knowledge. But that's why the prohibition happened, you know, because rightly so, the Puritans, you know, the health nuts, you know, the ones that go against gluten now, you know, the gluten freaks, they knew alcohol was destroying American fabric in so many ways, you know, and that's why we had prohibition, because they try to, you know, again, they try to eliminate everything, and again, it was a racist law. Prohibition was very racist against the Italians, the French, the Jews, yeah, and any Slavic nations. You know, they for a long time, you know, they were discriminated against, you know, and then yeah, so that's the same as the marijuana prohibition. You know, we know that hemp was legal all during the 40s, and then it wasn't until I guess the early 50s that Hearst came up with this anti-Mexican, anti-Spanish thing, and that's why he calls it marijuana. You know, because up until then it was cannabis or hemp, you know, or reefer. but when the black population got into it, and the Mexican population were using it, that was it. They had America had to put a tax on it, basically, you know, and then it gave them reason to incarcerate people like me, you know.
So why do you think non-violent marijuana offenders like yourself get more time than sex offenders?
Well, because we're the prison. See, when you go to the prison, you're a slave. You become a slave to the system. And just like, you know, Africa, you know, the reason we got so many huge football players and basketball players is that when they bought a slave, they made sure he was big, strong, and healthy, you know, and as a result, you know, they culled the weak ones on the boat over, or even before when they captured them. You know, they just went for the big, strong, hardy ones that could withstand all the hardships. And what was the question?
About how why do non-violent sex offenders, non-violent marijuana offenders serve more time than sex offenders? Because like sometimes,
they're intelligent. When I was in prison, all the potheads were running the prison, literally, because they're together people, I mean, when you evolve to the point where you can grow a plant like hemp and market it, and that you have a great deal of brains working. It takes a lot of skill to do what marijuana growers do. If you've ever tried to grow pot, it's not that easy. And it takes dedication, it takes everything. And so the marijuana people in prisons, they're the ones who usually in the front office, and anybody in the front office of anywhere, they're the ones that they know what's going on, and they know how to get all the perks. And that's what when I was in prison, I hung out with people like my buddy Eric. He's a golf caddy now, but he was so intelligent. I don't know how many degrees he has. He's been to university, and he's a very brilliant guy. Well, as soon as I came in there, he took me under his wing, and he says, "Okay, you're with us." And he was in charge of a garden where we grew produce for the food banks in Bakersfield. And he had the best garden. He grew onions, red peppers, and then everything you needed to be healthy. And that's how we ate every night. We had our own private dining room because everybody would be in the mess hall, and we would eat in the TV room where they had a bank of television sets on the wall. And so when you say it's the potheads or the marijuana people that get busted more so because they're ideal prisoners. They're not going to hurt the guard. They're not crazy. They're people that for one reason or another get caught up. Well, the basketball player in Russia now is a good example. She was doing it for her medicine, like I do. And when she got busted because she was Black, and because that and thanks to America, that marijuana trap is around the world. That's what they bust people in Indonesia. In Thai, it used to be in Thailand. Now Thai, you can get a medical thing, but
really,
Thai, they went legal medically.
Okay, because I thought that was like one of those countries where they would execute somebody if they would do marijuana there, or was that
China?
That's China. Okay,
that's China and Indonesia to some extent. But all companies, all places, no matter what you've done, if you can buy your way out, they're not going to kill you. They'll kill people that sell drugs in China because they consider they're worthless to as a commodity. You see, America doesn't realize that there's targets on Americans, because the government will give up whatever they have to give up to get you back, and if it's money, so be it, and that's how these, like Thailand, if you get in the prison system, you're screwed for some reason, if you can't buy your way out and you end up going to a Thai prison, you're really in trouble, because those prisons, see, they never had prisons like in China back in the day. Remember, you've seen those things, I think Kamog, or what are they called, where they put this wooden thing around your neck and your
for public humiliation, like
well, it's public humiliation. What it is that you can't feed yourself, you see, and you're not going to go anywhere, so that's why they do that. Well, in China, see, they would hold people until they passed sentence on them, and usually the sentence was death, because they had no place to warehouse these people. It wasn't until America, the Puritans, the Quakers, come up with this idea of a place to go pay penance, and thus they came up with penitentiary. That's where penitentiary comes from the word penance, where you get locked in a cell like a monk, and then you think of what you've done, and then you repent, and you become a better person. I mean, that's a theory, and it works. By the way, you leave people alone locked up for a while, they will change their evil ways, be it a child molester or whatever, for the most part, maybe not the sex crimes, but the worst thing you could be in a prison is a sex offender. That's why they gotta isolate them, because everybody in the prison system, when they want to kill somebody, once you go to prison, the prison owns you, and the government can't do a thing about it, and they won't do a thing about it. When I was in jail, there were many, a good handful, if not more, of people that should have been released, but the prison, for some reason, just didn't want to go through even whatever, looking up the guy's record or whatever. Maybe the guy or the girl was did something wrong against the prison, but they own you, and they own you life or death. You could die, and that's the trouble with a lot of the sex offenders. The word gets out, the gangs and everything else in the prisons will hunt down a predator, because these especially child molester.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the worst tag you can have. That is, or any sex offender. That's the worst tag you can have on your record. Look what it did to Cosby.
Oh my God. Yeah. I cannot believe that. I can't believe any of that. And then that he got out within 3 years, like, holy shit. Like, he would have got more time if he, would have been growing a fucking pot farm like in 2015. I can't believe he got I think he just got a $500,000 judgment civil suit, but he's not going to do time for that.
No.
So
was that what happened? He got 500,000 against him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They got, or a woman got that for what was the court determined that she was raped or date raped at the age of 16 inside the Playboy mansion. So I guess for whatever reason, this courthouse kind of near my house, or near enough where we were hearing helicopters for a couple of days, while he was in court, or while that procession was going. I don't even know if he was actually in court, but I know that the helicopters were there and there was a trial going on, because I know sometimes they could have the lawyers represent you, and I know sometimes that you have to be there. But
Cosby shows you what money can do. Because they kept him out of jail for a long time. And then when he did go to jail, they put that time bomb in there. They knew it was in there, but they also knew that he would have to do at least 2 to 3 years before they could, activate the bomb, which was an agreement that if he testified in a civil suit, that they couldn't use that against him in a criminal suit, which is illegal. Because you commit a crime, man, you can't tell anybody not to use it. But what they did in the Cosby's case, they actually lied and knew they lied, and it was a deal. It was a behind the scenes deal with the prosecution and everything else. Because the truth is, when you got the kind of money Cosby has, everybody's trying to get you free. That's why, what's the guy that died and his girlfriend got time in jail? Jeffrey
Epstein.
Epstein.
Yeah.
See, Epstein went through the same thing because he had money. Whatever time he did, he would go home. He'd have his own driver. He would spend the day in jail and go home at night. And it was just a farce because
Yeah.
he could pay the money. Well, in Cosby's case, he had to do at least 2-3 years in jail. But that's not going to, I mean, the truth is, I don't know Cosby's investments or whatever. He was pretty smart, so I'm quite sure he still has enough investments. My daughter and Bill were quite close, good friends. And in the beginning, when all that shit started happening, she would deny that Cosby ever come on to her. But then after he ended up in jail, then she came clean and said, yeah, he did come on to her. But my daughter is so hip, she wasn't gullible or alone because, being my daughter, Cosby knew that there would be ramifications.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, what a scumbag, especially if he knows your daughter through you. And I don't know what the situation is. It's just, but like if you meet somebody and then you go after their daughter, it's different if you would have met her in a different situation, like, in a recording studio or an executive, or I don't know, something like that. But like when somebody brings them in, I don't know. I mean, either way, it's still very scummy, very, very dirty feeling.
Well,
like
she worked with him on You Bet Your Life. She was his on-screen assistant. Renford, he called her. And but Bill, there's a sickness that he has, obviously, and it's very deep and obviously, because when you risk your livelihood, for rape, it's a sickness.
And the worst part is, like, he would make them incapacitated, so it's like pretty much like they're lifeless. And like my dad gave me the consent talk before the birds and the bees talk. My dad said that when it comes to women, you either want to take them out and get them to like you, or you got to pay for it. You got to get a hooker, but you never steal it. You never steal it. So that was.
I can see, in Cosby's case, and anybody growing up in the ghetto, I can see you being damaged early. I grew up very poor, and so I had a taste of being unsupervised, because that's what happens when you're growing up poor. You're unsupervised, and you can be unsupervised at a very early age. If your mother's a junkie or your father's alcoholic, and you're left on your own devices. I've been in ghettos where I watched a little toddler, little 2.5-year-old toddler, really get his own breakfast, put some porridge off the stove.
Oh my God.
And I watched it. I watched it in my own eyes, and I was in the same house. You could see 3 stories up through the holes in the floor. And the little friend that I befriended, what happened when we were playing the club there, you get out of the car and there are all these little ghetto kids around. They want to carry your guitar. Hey, can I carry your guitar? And from the car to the stage door, and you give them a tip. You give them a few bucks. And so I had this little guy named Iggy, and he would carry my guitar, and I'd give him a few bucks, and I become friends with him because that's the way I am. I'm very curious, and I never had a little ghetto friend before, and he was so proud of me. He said, "Will you come home? I want you to meet my mother." And I said, "Okay, yeah." And so I went to his house, and oh my God. There was so much garbage in the back, you couldn't open the back door.
Oh no.
And the back door, they had an old dog tied up. And the mother was like, she was like out of it, just nodding. She was so stoned. And so the kid came in and he showed me where he slept. And then what he had me do, he liked my shoes, and he wanted me to buy him shoes like I had. And so I did. I bought him a pair of shoes. Well, he had to sleep with the shoes tied around his neck at night so no one would steal them, because in that house he would steal it. So I got a lesson in that, and I took the whole gang. There's a gang of them, and they kind of got me into the gang. And here's what they would do. They a couple of, they had little bicycles, and the little mixed kid and this other one, they pull up in a bicycle and they say, "Do you want to fight?" The guy says, "Okay," and they start fist fighting, and they have a fist fight, and it's full on contact, and no rules, just a ordinary fight, but it was like boxing. And until one kid gets stopped with a good shot, and then they would break it up themselves. They would fight each other to get that toughness, to get tough enough so that they could live in the ghetto the way they did. And so when I took them out to eat, it was so cute. They all had their manners. They all went to the bathroom, they washed their hands, and they sat down, took off they never wore shirts. They'd either have the t-shirts tied up like a hat, but they all, because we're inside the restaurant, they all had their little shirts on. They went to the bathroom. They're so cute. They washed up and everything else. And when the waitress came, they knew exactly what to order, and like little adults, And so I had that time with them. But the thing is about the ghetto and the drugs, it really immobilizes people. That's what the heroin does, and they would just sit there and nod out and just enjoy the high, I guess, until they start coming down. Then they start looking for their next high, and they're trapped in that world. That's why later on, when I became a comedian, I had the good fortune of hanging with Lenny Bruce's ex-road manager. In fact, wow. When Cheech and I, first time we went on stage at the Redd Foxx Club in LA, Lenny Bruce had died about a few months, maybe a year earlier. And his whole entourage was sitting in the audience, kind of wow. looking for the next Lenny. And then Cheech and I came on stage, and Tony Viscara, Lenny Bruce's road manager at one time, he was his father-in-law. He had married Lenny's mother, and Tony came up, and he became a friend until he died. He OD'd eventually.
Oh no!
And so one time I was talking to Tony, and Tony was the best friend I could have, especially in the comedy, because he was so honest. Because he had been with Lenny, and so just when you do a good audition or you're gonna do a good open mic night,
yeah,
and you start bragging about it, and Tony would tell us, "Man, you ain't done shit." He said, when you see it, I'll tell you when you made it. So I told Tony, well, when can you say you made it, because, making people laugh in a room, and getting a standing ovation, that should tell you something. But he said, nah. He says, until that lineup is there to see you. He says, you ain't done shit. All you've done is entertain a crowd that's already there. And they want to be entertained anyway, so you ain't done shit.
I went to this burlesque show recently. I got this I do it once a month now. So I wanted to ask you, because early on you used to open up for burlesque and strippers or strippers. I know they're different, or exotic dancers, I should say. You used to open up for exotic dancers, and I would like to know how you would describe that experience of being a comedian and competing with your jokes against scantily dressed women / naked women bouncing around?
Well, we were the relief. See, when you get but it depends on your bit, you know. If you're there to make people laugh.
Yes.
See, that was always my, see, before I got into comedy, I hung with a lot of jazz musicians as a musician myself. Yeah. And every jazz musician I've ever met, they've always got the best joke. They have the best timing. They know how to tell a joke, just like they know how to play their instrument. They have the most respect for good comedy. That's why Lenny Bruce was doing his best work in jazz clubs, because it was the jazz guys that were his audience for the most part, because they were the ones that got his jokes, you know. A lot of the drunks in the audience, you know, they come to see the girls, you know, they weren't that thrilled. Well, what we did, we had a strip joint. I had Vancouver's first strip joint in Canada. No, Montreal was ahead of me, but say in Western Canada for sure. And they had some little chicken shit rules, you know, had to wear pasties and that. Oh, no. But I got involved in the strip world, and so I knew that whole feeling, you know, that whole routine, you know, because I'd played music for strippers and that, and then I watched comedians come up and entertain, you know, and so I really had a lock on it, you know. That was my early training, was sitting and watching, and that's and it's, you know, musicians, you know, like I found out about Dylan. I found something out, Bob Dylan, that just makes all the sense in the world. Bob Dylan, he could sing, like he was musically gifted from the time he was born. He could hear a song and know the song word for word, note for note, on one hearing. And when he first started playing, he would copy all the hit parade songs that were out there, and that was his act, more or less. When he heard Woody Guthrie, and then everything just all came to, the light bulb went on. Here's a guy that didn't really have a singing voice per se, you know. He wasn't Johnny Mathis for sure, and here's a guy that didn't need a band. He just had a guitar, and I don't know if he even had the harp. But when Dylan saw that, and then the guy wrote his own songs, and the way he had the people listen was to sing it more like a guy that can't sing, but wants to get the words out, you know, wants people to hear the words, you know, because there's some singers, you know, their voices are so beautiful, you don't hear the lyrics. You hear the lyrics, but you don't put them together. Like there's a song called "What Now, My Love." You know, what now, my love? Now that it's over, I feel the walls closing in on me. Well, that's a sad song, but it was always sung by these beautiful people with great voices. And so you're humming along, and you don't really realize that the guy is dying. You know? Oh no! His wife his girlfriend left him. He's got nothing, you know, and it's so sad. And then the Vegas singers would take it. What now, my love? Now, hey, how's the steak? Good, all right. Now that it's over. Hey, don't forget, we got another show coming up here, and I feel the walls closing in on me. Hey, good to see you. You know what I'm saying? Well, what Dylan found out, that you have to act, not just sing. You have to act the part. So if you're singing a protest song, you can't sound like Johnny Mathis, and because you're going to get people confused with the beauty of your voice. And so Dylan came up with that raspy Dylan voice but the words overpowered, the message overpowered the singer. And that's what he wanted to do. And Dylan, by the way, he deserves every bit of that Nobel Peace Prize that he got for his songs. No, he is one of the marvels of our planet. When you look at what he's done, just almost like Bill Russell, the basketball guy. It took days, really, to list all his accomplishments. That he was the first this, first that, and Dylan's in that spirit, of being anointed. No, I met Dylan. I played basketball with him one time. His wife was coming over to my house. We were doing Tai Chi. We were learning how to do Tai Chi, and Dylan heard about it, but he didn't want to do Tai Chi. But he also heard that I played basketball. I had a basketball set up in my house in the garage, and so he heard about that. So he said he wanted to play basketball with Cheech and Chong, and so we had a day. He came over, we played, and then we went into my sauna, and we sat there and shared a joint. It was a memorable time, and especially when he tried to drive on me, and I filed the shit out of him, but he couldn't. Get out of here with that sissy shit, boy.
Oh my God, just dunking on Bob Dylan. That's great. I was not expecting that at all. Oh my God, that's so funny. Oh my God. Speaking of celebrities, you and your band, Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers, helped discover the Jackson 5, and you guys.
Well, we did. It did help. We discovered them.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And to Bobby's credit, Bobby took the boys and Joe, took them to Detroit, because we saw him in Chicago. Had the boys come to Detroit, stay at Bobby's house or his apartment in Detroit. And at the same time, my daughters were staying there too. So I can safely say that my daughter slept with Michael Jackson. But then after Michael's little thing with the kids, I took that off the itinerary.
At least you have morals. Some comics would be like, that's a solid 3 minutes or whatever longer, 7 minutes.
Bobby Taylor really was the guy that said, hey, come on, you stay at my house and we'll sign you up. We'll get you signed with Motown. That's what Bobby told the Jackson 5. Because what happened, they won a contest, a school contest, and the winning prize was opening up for Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers, singing their hit song, Does Your Mama Know About Me? And Jerry Butler and Bobby Taylor, we co-headlined. And then the Jackson 5 came in to open the show. And so we were there when they opened the show, and they sang My Girl. And as good as, if not better than, the Temptations. I remember seeing him. It was like, oh my God. A little Michael, he had the lead voice, man, and he was the smallest of them all. And he's belting out this voice. Oh, whew. Yeah. And I told Cheech, Cheech knew the story, but Cheech was he was very skeptical about everything. And I realized a lot of people are skeptical because a lot of people make up shit. And so people that make up shit always expect other people to make up shit too.
Yeah.
And so when I met Cheech, I was probably one of the only guys that he ever met that didn't make up shit.
Oh, no. Yeah, I know a series of bullshitters that cannot fucking tell the truth if their life depended on it.
Yeah.
But my question leading up to that was, have not little Michael Jackson when you met him, but did you ever smoke weed with him as an adult?
You know, I met Michael one time after he grew up, and yeah, it was around the glove era when he had the glove. Mm-hmm. Remember? I don't know if you remember that phase, but he would wear a glove everywhere he went.
Yeah, just one glove though.
The one glove. Yeah,
fingerless.
He was like a trendsetter, you know. And we were being honored. We had won a Grammy, and so they were honoring all the Grammy winners at the Roxy. And so Michael was at the Roxy, and we were in the dressing room at the Roxy. No, actually, it was the top of the Roxy. It was a private club, and Michael was up there with Cheech and I. And the only thing Michael said to me was, "Tommy, do you think Bobby's funny?" and around that time, you know, the way he said it was, I interpreted that I think Bobby was gay.
Oh my God. Not actually funny, haha. Like,
no.
like gay. Okay.
And so I said, probably.
Meanwhile, the guy has like 20 kids and 20 different stuff.
And Cheech was astounded, because Cheech exaggerates. And so when I would tell people that I, you know, helped discover the Jackson 5, you know, he always, yeah, sure you did. You know, that kind of thing. Well, then he met Michael, and then he found out. He asked Michael, and did we discover them? And Michael said, "Oh yeah, that's everything I said was true." See, I don't lie. I don't lie, and the reason I don't lie is that my truths are way better than any lie I could ever tell. You know, what really happened to me is way like the time I met Muhammad Ali. I don't know if I told it the last story that I was on, but I don't know. No. But anyway, what happened? Muhammad Ali was going around town, around America, you know, giving talks to the students, you know, because he couldn't fight. He was giving lectures. He was lecturing. And so you talk about strippers. It was an old stripper friend of mine, Lady Scarlett. We're on the phone. We talk every once in a while. And so she said, "Tommy, you'll never guess who I was with last night." Okay, I give up who. She goes, "Muhammad Ali. We had a wonderful night. Oh, it was great." I said, "Oh, wow." And I says, "Oh," and then I said, "Well, it's weird because he's in Detroit now." Yeah. And anyway, she told me what happened. And so then Bobby Taylor calls me up right after that and says, "Hey, come on over. The house, the champ's coming over." Well, Bobby had told me before that he went to the Olympics with Muhammad Ali. Now, the reason people really didn't believe a lot of things Bobby said was because Bobby had a couple of identities before we met him. For instance, he was in a singing group. He was a ringer in a singing group that had competed in a contest for the armed services. And in order to be a singer, you had to be in the armed services. So they got Bobby and they lied, and we gave him a phony ID and said that he was in the armed services. Well, Bobby had such a great voice,
yeah,
that they recorded a song called "Been So Long" by the Pastels. Now, when you play this back, remember "Been So Long" by the Pastels. When you Google it, mm-hmm. you'll hear this beautiful song that would be perfect for the pandemic, by the way, because it's about someone that hadn't seen each other for years. And, been so long since I held you tight. It's a beautiful song. And it's Bobby's voice. And they came in second. They never won it, but they came in second.
Oh, my
God. Behind Come Go With Me by another group, Come, go with me. Da, 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 da. Yeah. Well, anyway, Bobby, so I knew he was at the Olympics with Muhammad Ali, because Muhammad Ali, now I don't know how he got there or what name he used, but Muhammad Ali definitely knew Bobby Taylor, to the point where he's coming over to visit Bobby. And so Bobby called me up, and I just talked to Scarlett. I drive over to Bobby's place, and he had to park and then get in the elevator. I get in the elevator, and all of a sudden, Muhammad Ali runs to get in the same elevator. And so we're in the elevator, and I can hear Scarlett's voice in my head, oh man, he was wonderful, he was great. And so I said to him on the way up, I said, Lady Scarlett says to say hi. And we hadn't talked, we hadn't looked at each other even. He looked at me like I was a ghost. And his eyes got all big. As the mouth got big, he looks at me, and then the doors opened, and we were there. And so then we ended up walking to the same place, because not only the ghost caught him in the elevator, but now we're walking to the same place. It was so funny. And then we took pictures, and Bobby introduced me and everything else. And we took the boxing picture, and I lost it. I don't know where that picture went to, but it disappeared. And yeah, it was a trip. And I never talked to Muhammad about it after that. It was just, it was our secret,
Oh my God. You have thousands of celebrity stories. Would you ever consider something like telling celebrity stories and turning it into like a I don't know, like a chat with the people involved, and turn that into a cartoon that's like somewhat animated? Because that would be hilarious. I don't know, I don't know what you're doing right now. I'm not just pitching this idea, but I think that'd be cool. I was just thinking right now, like, you have such cool celebrity stories, like you just mentioned a bunch of like cool celebrity stories just right now. And
what we're doing, we got a documentary coming out of Cheech and Chong, and it's more than a documentary. It's not just then we did this, then we did that. It morphed into a movie, and I haven't seen it. I haven't seen a finished cut yet, but it goes back, and it deals. I don't think we put that story in. Maybe we did. They had to cut a lot of my side out, because it was too much me and not enough Cheech. But it's a Cheech and Chong biography. And then what I'm going to do is continue with the stories, like I'm telling you, because I think what's happening now, whether we know it or not, is that the old days of doing a movie and that's it is over. Every movie, it can and should be a serial, where you come back in part 1, part 2, part 3, part 15. Sylvester Stallone kind of had the right idea with the Rockies, because he had Rocky 14.
They were up there. They were up there.
Yeah, so he's at Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 14, up to 14. And that's the long, longevity of one boxer. Well, what we got now with entertainment, this my take on it, is that what we're doing now. I don't have to be where you are. You don't have to be where I am. Throw a camera on, put our phone on, boom. We can entertain. We can talk. We don't have to travel anywhere. And I think what's happening with the movie industry too, but even superheroes, the ventures out, so you can have Superman forever. Superman goes back to the 20s, I think. And I think that's what's happening with real life. I know that 70s show is now called the 90s show, and so it's coming out, and I'm in it again.
Oh, nice. I thought that was a rumor for the longest, and then the pandemic happened. So when is that coming out?
I have no idea.
Oh, wow.
See? And they're waiting for the right time,
right now is the right time. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry. I'm excited. Like, you're telling me all this cool. Tell me about a documentary, telling me about the 90s show. And I'm just like,
well, that's what I see with Cheech and Chong. And now Cheech, he's got a art gallery called the Cheech, and it's in Riverside, and it's very successful. And so I'm not totally sure that Cheech is going to be come along with me when I do the journey, because what I have to be in charge. I've been, for the most part, when we did the Cheech and Chong movies, it was my baby. I was the one that wrote most of it and directed almost all of it. All of them. And then we broke up because Cheech didn't want to do it with me anymore. And so he wanted to go on his own, and he did Born in East LA, and then he became a cop with Don Johnson. Now we're back, but we're not really back like we used to be, and we never will be.
Fuck, man.
But what I see us doing now is doing before Cheech and Chong, in my life before Cheech, in Cheech's life before Chong, and then have it do series, this season, 2 different seasons of the thing, and because it's recorded, it will always be there, so people can see the beginning and the middle and the end, however they want to do it. And that's what I see us doing with Cheech and Chong, because we're not young, we can't be young, we are who we are. And the documentary will show that when that comes out. And so I'm kind of waiting. And then what I want to do, I am forming my own movie company.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I realize the only way to have control is to own it, And so,
can I shoot you my stoner comedy movie? I'm just kidding. You just know, you're like, I think I'm going to start it. I'm just big.
No, I got to answer that. No.
No, I respect that.
And I'll tell you why. I can't accept any scripts or ideas from anybody because it's not my idea. If
that makes me feel a lot better.
I could hire you as who you are as a writer, provided you pass the test, of stage time. No, what I want to do is have a movie company, be the mogul, because that's what Cheech really told me. Cheech, one time he called me a megalomaniac, and that's who I am. You know, that I evolved into this guy.
Wait, so he wasn't wrong. So he wasn't.
No.
But you have big dreams and aspirations, man. That's next level.
That's a mogul. See, that's what a mogul does. See, I can't work for people because I you know, you can't even write for me, you know, because what I have to make it my own. And if I take someone's idea and make it my own, then that's not fair. I will hire writers. I will hire actors. I will hire all the people, producers, whatever you're doing. See, I got this great idea of how to fix our planet. The problem with the democracy, the way we have now, is that it's never settled, as we found out, you know, with the abortion thing. You know, it all depends on who's running the show, somewhat, and where the money's coming in. You see, it has little to do with humanity, and that's the biggest problem, because we've always had these movies. See, the movies, like comedy, it's the truth that resonates, be it anything, art, music, comedy, anything. It's the true, like in music, for instance, when you hit a note, that note has to be pure, and you can adjust it. Like you hit the C note, and if it's sharp, it's called C sharp. If it's flat, it's called C flat. And if it gets any flatter, it becomes a different note, you see?
Yeah.
That's the truth. The truth is like hitting a note and having that note be pure. Now, if you have a pure note, which can be done, you can translate that to everything, to acting, to writing, to comedy, to everything. If it's pure, and it will resonate. Yes. And that's what we're looking for. So we want everything to resonate. Now, if it's impure, then it will resonate as being impure. You know, if it's C flat, then it won't be C. It will be called C flat. And if you do that with say comedy, the difference between comedy and drama, for instance, is timing. If anything, you know, you can shorten the dramatic part and heighten the comedy part if you want comedy, or you can reverse it. You can heighten again. It can be sharp or flat, you know. And if you can do it properly, now you got something that resonates. Because if it resonates, then you have a chance to have a lot of people going, I want to hear that again. I want to see that again. Or you got to see this. You got to see that. Because what you've done, you've produced a vibe, a vibration that people want to live in. They love it. That's what comedy, that's what comedians do, you know. And the minute they step out of that boundary, like Cosby did, then they go from being the most beloved to being the most hated, you know. And so what I see, we can solve all our problems with truth. That's why the Bible said the truth will set you free. And it does. It sets you free. Now, with your mind, it sets your mind free, you know. And now, what I see us doing now, because I've been contemplating, not just contemplating by myself, but I am blessed, and I know it, and I've been blessed all my life. And it was simply because I was really born blessed. And by the way, you know, I wasn't born in a manger, but I lived in one. When I was born in the hospital,
Yeah.
but as soon as I left the hospital, I was taken to a manger. It was a converted chicken shack where they used to hold chickens.
Yeah.
And my dad my dad was given a homestead. They gave away a homestead, but you had to stay on the land and work it in order for it to become yours.
Oh my goodness.
My dad unfortunately never stayed there because years later they discovered oil on the property. But
Oh my God.
But he tried to raise turkeys, and the only structure on the place was a converted chicken house, which they cleaned and scrubbed. My mother did, obviously, and made it livable, and for a period of time. And then we had to move everything from the homestead into the city. The reason I think my father, well, he couldn't make it go, the turkey ranch, and so he was always gone looking for work. Because it's one thing having a homestead, but another thing getting money to feed the family.
Yeah.
And he had a family then. He had me, I was a baby, and he had my brother who was 3 years old at the time. And when we moved from the manger, we moved on a horse-drawn hay wagon. Our furniture piled up high on the hay wagon, and it was and a horse at night going into town. And I was a baby. I was a baby. My mother told me the story, and she had a pet crow, and the pet crow followed us for a while in the hay wagon, and then the crow said, he found a bait or something. But yeah, my whole life, I've been so blessed with poverty. By the way, that's what gave it. Had I been rich, had I been raised, in a rich family, I'm quite sure I wouldn't have accomplished near as what I did already. Because I would have no need to.
Some might argue that if you had those resources, that you could just devote everything to the craft and not have to worry about having to. That's the argument. No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I agree with you 100% because Tommy Chong, you're a legend. People, my mentors have reached out to me to tell me how inspirational you are and how revitalizing, like everything, like you explaining weed laws and them being racist and like why they're racist and how power is dealt with throughout the world. It's really like thought-provoking, like nobody. And I asked people for criticism. They're like, yeah, you're kind of nervous at the beginning. I was like, yeah, I know. I'm talking to Tommy Chong. Are you fucking kidding me? I don't want to fuck this up. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want him to fuck me either, but I mean, I want to have a good time, and I want to make sure that he has a good time. And like, I'm getting a lot of like information about just everything. And it's just so fucking great. And I'm happy for you, because here's the thing that I've learned, especially through comedy. And I mean this, I'm actually happy for you that you're doing all that stuff. You're going to have, I mean, you already have your own brand, but I mean, having your own studio, you're going to, like you mentioned it a lot in the last podcast. Surprised you haven't even mentioned him once, but you're going to be the Jew now. You're going to be the man, because you said you need a Jew to make it in the business. You're going to have your own studio.
Well, you got to realize.
I'm just fucking around.
No, but you got to realize the Jew and the Muslim.
Yes.
They were brothers, by the way.
Nice.
The Jew and the Muslim. They got one thing in common. And the belief that there is only one God. That's what they have in common. And that God is in heaven. God is in heaven. And everything God made was good. And everything that God did not make was not made. So we live in a world of good. Now, it's the way we perceive the good, you see. Now, that's where evil comes in. That's where miscalculation, misunderstanding. That's why in the Bible they tell you forgiveness. Forgive them. Jesus, can you imagine? He's being tortured, crucified, hung on a cross. And what does he say? Forgive them. Forgive them, Lord. They know not what they do. Forgive them for their ignorance. And that's what racism is. It's just pure ignorance. And by the way, stupid really comes in all colors, all sizes, all shapes.
Yeah.
There is, no one has a lock on stupid. You can look at people and say, oh, he looks stupid. But the real stupid person is the one that's saying that about stupid people. Because what it is, we humans, see, we all have the same abilities. This is what Jesus was teaching you. And in fact, he told everybody, he said, why do you call me good when there's only one good, and that's God? Jesus told everybody, listen, the mind that's in me is in you.
Yeah.
Everything that I can do, you can do. There's no secret. There's no secret. Now, the reason Jesus could do what he did was because he was so connected to God that he really, he was beyond the Son of God. See, he was God personified. He was God on earth. See, and so when you picture God coming to earth, the Catholics would have him come like in a robe, dressed like the Pope, maybe.
With a crown. Don't forget the crown.
With a crown, maybe a jeweled specter. That's what Catholics, because Catholics, their biggest sin, and it is a sin, is the Catholics have created what Moses and the Muslims called graven images.
That's the beef that my born again Christian friends have against Catholics as well. And I've never heard you identify as a born again Christian, but just, believing in God or higher power. And
and there again, that's a fallacy. You're not born again. No one's born again. You're born once. And it was a struggle. You can't say you're born again just because you change your belief. What you've done, you change your mind, and that baptism. You know what the baptism was about?
No.
John the Baptist. Yeah, but do you know why John the Baptist was called John the Baptist? Because his job really was making sure that the Jews washed before they went to temple. Because think about it, those guys walked around barefoot or with sandals. And so when they would go into temple, they would bring the dirt and crap with them. And so the idea, in order to be with God, you got to be baptized. You got to wash your nasty ass, as Redd Foxx would say.
Oh my God.
See? That's all it is.
Dude, that makes sense, but they can't put that in books like that. They can't put that in.
Why not?
In textbooks, at least, for school children. You got to protect this. There's so much ignorance. Like, I just wish they would just say that at the beginning.
No, but here's the thing is, you have to evolve to the point where you're interested in God enough that you will take the time. The books are there. And the thing is, God, you have to come to God. God does not come to you. But why? It's called free will. Free will. Okay?
Yeah.
That's what we're born with. We're born with free will. We can go anywhere we want. We can go kill ourselves if we want. We can.
No, I know.
People do it all the time. I remember there was a story about these little Bulgarian kids, I think. They were adopted and they were sent over to America. And so what they did, what's this bush? I forgot. It's poisonous. They sat and ate the leaves until they died. And because they did not, they wanted to die, you see.
That's horrible.
And no, it's not really. Think about it. No, it's
they
not.
Wanted to die. Were they in pain or
Well, I don't know what their story was, but they did not want to be on this plane. And that's the free will. That's why you have people that, people blame guns and shit like that for oh, if we get rid of the guns, we won't have these mass killings. They'll find another way to do it.
Mass stabbings. It happens in China from time to time, and then we hear about it. They're like, hey, shut the fuck up about it. Don't put it on the news.
Here's what is you got to be very careful when you. I can talk about it a little bit because the nature of who I am and what I've been given. The task I've been given. See, I've been given, I know, I've had experiences where I know that I am ordained in that special. I've been given this chore to do, really. And it, oh, okay, I get it. And what it is to use the tools that were given to us to advance a cause. And what I want to do, the best to my ability, is to make it easier for people to travel to America. See, a lot of the racists, they used immigration as a fear, like Trump did. These immigrants are coming here and they're robbing, they're going to rape, and they're going to kill and pillage and steal everything. And, wrong. He's totally wrong. Said, and this is coming from a guy whose life is dedicated to stealing shit from other people. This is his whole life. He was born rich because his dad was a bootlegger, I guess, selling liquor illegally, and taking advantage of prohibition, because that's what they do. They make something illegal, then they drive the price up, and then if you get caught, then they can stick you in prison and all that. But I see answers to problems right in front of our face. And the question is, should I tell them? I'm like a spoiler. I'm like a spoiler alert for life.
I'm just scared the government's going to come after you and just fucking murder you for just, I don't know, because Americans, we're so fucking stupid now that if you're to come through with a how-to for how to live life and just not get fucked, people would not like that who are in charge. That'd be fucking up the status quo. That's fucking up the status quo, though. And I like that. You're a rabble rouser. I like that shit. I'm encouraging you. Do what you need to do to make it happen.
I really am let me know. I really am not. I really am not, because I don't believe in a them and us.
Okay.
I believe in ours.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I always believe in ours. Now, I know what it's like to be shunted and be demonized. I learned that as a little kid when we moved into the neighborhood from the country. Now we came across some racism in the country when we first moved to our house in the country. It's okay. It's just a thing. Hit the wrong button. There we go.
Thought we lost you for a second.
No, we moved in the country, in our little bungalow with the outhouse and the water pump down the road. My brother and I were visiting some friends. We just met these friends, and we're coming home, and it was around dusk. And this group of kids, well, they were bigger kids. They accosted us, and they started pushing my brother around. I guess I was small. I wasn't a threat, but they kind of bullied my brother, pushed him around. Hey, what are you doing here, kid? You know, that kind of thing. And I remember running home, and then my dad running out of the house after those kids in his bare feet. And my dad's not tall; he's about 5'3", and he went running, tearing after these kids. And I don't know what happened. You know, we were in the house, and next thing you know, we're in bed. I don't know what happened. It happened a couple of times. And when we moved into another neighborhood, we had the same bullies. What they do, they test to see how, if you're one of them or you can be bullied, you know.
All the research.
Yeah.
I don't know. For being probably skinny, right? Or was there like a racist element to it? Because like one thing.
It was a brown racist element to it.
Okay.
Because and by the way, I found out just recently that my brother and I were 8% Native. That my grandmother was half breed, half Native, and she committed suicide. Oh, and no, I'm sorry. And I didn't know the story. I didn't know the story behind it.
Oh.
But basically, that I was chosen because of I was chosen, and I was protected all my life by my mother and by my father, and by my brother, definitely by my brother. And I always liked the wild side, you know. And growing up poor and being a minority, you have the ability to really become a spectator, you know. And my mother once told me, as I got older, she says, people are going to look at you. So it's up to you what image you give them to look at. And I always stuck in my head. And I realized that, first of all, I could play music. And then I learned how to play the guitar. Well, that was the biggest thing I could do, because I was playing guitar like before Elvis, and then during Elvis, that's when I started playing on stage, and that's when my life really changed, because as long as I had a guitar in my hand and I was on stage, I was something special.
Did you see the effect that Elvis was having on the young ladies, and think maybe if a young Tommy starts playing an instrument or joins a band, you'll start getting ladies too? Was that a motivation, or was it strictly like, you know, to hone your music craft, or was it for the money or the fame, or you know, there's just a lot of different components, and it's just like, you know, I just want to make a living. That's it, you know?
No, it was first of all,
I love it, quite frankly.
I never learned to play that well. And it was a plus for me. It was a big plus, because especially when Cheech and I started out, we got into comedy thanks to a guitar player that was so good. In fact, he's on our record, Earache My Eye, you know, that mama talking to me, trying to tell me how to live. He played, he actually wrote the music. I wrote the lyrics. He came out of Cheech's bedroom one time, and he goes, listen to this, mama talking to me, trying to da 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 da, you know, da 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 da, and he did the tune. Well, I wrote the lyrics, I think, in one day, and we recorded it, and it was great. Well, his name was Gay DeLorme, and he was, I think, Ukrainian. I think, or French, because of Delorme. It could be French. But anyway, he was a terror when he was a young kid. He learned how to play guitar, or he learned how to start loving the guitar while he was in juvenile detention. He was in a home for juveniles for breaking into houses and stealing shit.
Oh my God!
And he learned, but he became, if not Canada's best. There's another guitar named Lenny Bro that was almost as good as Gay. He was a little more jazzier than Gay. Gay went into the rock field, and Lenny Bro went into jazz. But these guys could play with every finger and every toes. They could play. Oh man, he could sound like Hendrix. And so when I met him,
oh wow,
I was doing both. I had the strip club, and I had the girls dancing, and then we were doing comedy. But at the end of the show, I would play the guitar and sing, and the girls would dance. It was like a hippie burlesque. And but when I met Gay Delorme, I hung up the guitar. He was that good. I literally quit playing guitar because of Gay Delorme. And to this day, no, like I said, he died, but oh my God, his sense of humor, it was all over Cheech and Chong. We did a bit called Me and My Old Lady, which Gay Delorme wrote everything, including the lyrics. Me and my old lady, we like to go downtown. Yeah, we like just to cruise around. One day, oh yeah, he wrote the whole song, and he wrote the first bit that we ever did in the strip club. The first bit we ever did in the strip club, we come out. Because when Gay showed up, all the great musicians, they showed up. Actors showed up. When I started the acting thing, all the actors showed up. And Gay, so we had access, and he was a great classical guitarist too, and flamenco. He could play everything with all his fingers. And so the first bit we did with the strip club. Okay, now picture this. One day, we got girls coming out on stage, rock and roll music, dancing, flirting with the guys. And then the next day, we got a classical guitarist coming out, sitting down and start playing classical guitar. Then all of a sudden, here comes a mime artist. Picking flowers.
What?
And these bikers are waiting for the girls to come up, but they're interested. And they're, when the mime artists come out, one of the hecklers said, "Hey, Elvis." They called the mime artist Elvis. Oh my God! And then my first partner, Dave, comes out like an opera singer. He's got a scarf around his neck and a cowboy hat on. And he starts singing, "I dream of Jeannie with the light brown fur, because Jeannie is my favorite wired hair terrier." And then I kick a door. We had doors put in the back. And I kicked the door open, and I come out with no shirt on, hair messed up. And I got a rolled up newspaper, and I walk over to Dave and I start beating him. I go, "What kind of fucking song is that?" And the audience died. They screamed and laughed. And that was the beginning of my comedy career. That was the first comedy bit I ever did on stage with my first partner, Dave. And then we became partners. We did all sorts of comedy. And then we had a straight man, and then the straight guy, his wife found out that he was in a strip bar, so she made him quit.
What?
And then and then we that's when we got a hold of Cheech.
Oh my God! Wait, hold on. It's because some guy's wife didn't want him at a strip club, and that's why you got a new partner. And it was
that's why I got a new partner.
That's fucking funny, because if that wife was chill, that would man.
There would have been no Cheech.
There would have been no Cheech and Chong, or you would have made
there would have been no Cheech and Chong
Mexican
because Dave and I couldn't carry it ourselves. You know, we never thought it. Dave was ensconced. I was, you know, we're married, 2 kids. Dave had 2 or 3. We all had kids and families, and we're doing great with 2 clubs. We had a strip club going. We had the after hours club going. We're doing great. But when I met Cheech, and then we tried to put a band together, but we did comedy first, and just the 2 of us doing comedy, we won the battle of the bands, and we never played a note. We never played a note. The crowd loved us so much that we never got around to playing music. It would have ruined it. And so that was it. And so coming home that night, the windshield wipers of the car wouldn't work. And so we took turns leaning out with a coat hanger on the windshield wipers so we could drive.
Yeah.
And that's when we named ourselves, you know. We're trying to say, what are we going to call ourselves? Well, Marin and Chong, nah. Richard and Tommy, nah. I said, Cheech, don't you have a nickname? And he goes, yeah, Cheech. And I said, Cheech and Chong. Oh my God. Cheech and Chong. And it was never Chong and Cheech. It was always Cheech and Chong. And then a linguist from UCLA, because once we figured out, you know, Cheech and Chong, and we're doing comedy, and we already played to a, you know, sold out arena. Therefore, you know, it was just a matter of time. And so then we had to sneak into LA. We had to sneak back into the States because Cheech was up dodging the draft.
Yeah.
and so we had to sneak a Mexican back into LA from Vancouver.
You gotta be the first. Gotta be the first.
It was very easy, very easy. and then we struggled for a year before we made it, and then here we are.
That's amazing, and that's awesome that you didn't have an ego then, and you don't have an ego now, but you knew it was Cheech and Chong. You knew that it was right. You know, it sounded good. You know, you had a vision, and you went with it.
Yeah. The thing is, I kept getting success in the clubs with the band, the clubs, you know, but it wasn't lasting success, you know, and then my personal life was all a mess in a way, because I loved both the women that I was with, you know. I had a girlfriend that she was very content to just be my girlfriend. She did not want to be my wife, and although she is now. And I had a wife that, you know, she just wanted to be a wife, and she still is. You know, we're still close, we're still tight, and so I got everything that I asked for and more. And now it's time to go the next step, you know, and we can do it. I'm going to do it now.
You're doing it with the documentary. I am looking forward to, like, I'm so, if there's like a screening, or I don't know, like, that is so incredible. Like, when it comes out, I'll go see it. Like, that is cool. I really dig that. I really dig the studio. I dig your vision. I dig that, you know, you're still grinding hard. And to be honest with you, you are somebody a lot of people look up to. A lot of my mentors have reached out. A lot of people have reached out, like, you know, you're within glory, right? And I was like, yeah, dude, I know. That's why I'm nervous as hell. But you know what? I don't care. You know, I keep it real. And you know what? I know the phone's ringing like, Tommy, get the fuck out the phone. You've been talking to that guy for too long. But I swear to God, Tommy, if I had the opportunity, I'd be like, you know what? We're going to fucking Tommy Wednesday and just release every Wednesday. But you know what? Your time is precious. Your time is precious. I swear to God. And I value the time that we spend together. But I like I say, but with you, I don't say this to everybody. You know what I mean? Whenever you want to come back, you're welcome. Because, dude, you're enlightening. You're just really inspirational. And God, you really are in. Like, there's so many things that I learned today about the business, about visions, about just everything. It's just so beautiful. Like everything, the insights, and you know what? I like to have positive-minded people around me that see glory in front of them. But the thing is, though, like you have the backing. Everybody, dude, anything you do, people will follow. Everyone loves you, man. Everyone.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm lucky. I am the luckiest dude ever. Like, I seriously am. I mean, you're back. Like, if you ever want to come back, I swear to God, dude, like I said, dude, like, and if you're like 20 minutes and Mexican 20 minutes, start right now. I was like, okay, cool. 45 minutes. Okay. No, but I swear to God, Tommy, I so many gems. And I was just like, thank God I didn't say anything right then, because you just unloaded this gem. And I'm just like, okay, cool. You got it. Okay, let me talk. Okay, cool. Right there. Okay, cool. Because like, I really love everything that just like is thought provoking and just like really like heart wrenching at times. It's, dude, I was going to encourage you. If you started your own podcast right now, man, you can make some serious revenue. People like
no, I'd rather be on your podcast.
Okay, okay, fine. Forget that idea.
I tried. I had a site for a while there, and it grew, but not as big as everybody would like it to grow. No, you know what? I've got bigger things than talking. I really have like I said, plans for the planet itself. I'll leave you with this. Yeah. I was having Timothy Leary and I got to be good friends, and
yes.
and we would meet every once in a while. We'd meet at the airport because he was out doing lectures and I'm out doing stand-up. And Tim says, "Oh, we're like warriors, We'd meet at the night. We're out there, and like Tim used to like to think that he was like a road warrior. He was a scientist, a brain scientist that experimented with LSD. Well, Tim sort of had a sort of like a kind of a downer look at Earth. He never evolved with the acid. To him, it was a high. And what's another high? Well, if this gets you high, let's try this. And another high.
Oh, wow.
Well, with me, with acid, it was like boom, right away. Everything came to, okay, I understand. I understand what I have to do. I had direction all my life. And so I'm on the path. Well, Tim, he was very, kind of bitter at the end. And he said, he started talking about the getting on a spaceship, finding another Earth, and I told Tim, I said, Tim, we're on a spaceship right now, Earth. I said, and it's very comfortable spaceship. You don't have to be in a little cramped area with wearing a helmet, and having to pee upside down, in the weightlessness. I said, this is our spaceship, Earth. And Tim said, he said, haven't you read my books? And I said, before I could answer, he says, oh, you haven't read my books. He goes, you're just like John Lennon. And I said, excuse me? Because I wanted to hear it again. He said, you're just like John Lennon. And I smiled. I said, well, thank you, Tim. Because what he was trying to say, that, well, John Lennon didn't know what the hell he was talking about either, but I took it as like, yes, what a compliment, because John, I knew George quite well. We got high together a few times, but John, I only met John one time, and I never had a chance to hang with him. But oh my God, all the Beatles, man, they were so ordained at the time, because we were the same. My band paralleled all of them, the Stones. We learned up the same Chuck Berry songs. We all learned the same songs, Johnny Be Good. And I just when Tim said that, I said, yeah, just like John Lennon. Wow. Okay, gotta go.
Thank you, Tommy. I hope you have a blessed day, and strength be with you. Thank you, brother. I'll reach out. Have a good day. Thank you again. Thank you, brother.
Whenever you need it.
Brother. Thank you, and thanks for being on again with another episode. Man, that was cool. Totally fucking cool, for reals.
Thanks for listening. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, do your boy a favor. Tell your friends. Tell your cool family members. Tell your cool coworkers. Let them know about the podcast. And leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And be sure to follow me on all social media, Puro Papi Pacheco. And check out my website at HispanicTitanic.com for future dates. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a great day.